All right.
All right.
Hey, family.
We're back.
I don't know what that was. Did you hear a voice that just kind of give up on her? Like, you tried to go high.
You hush. Hey, everybody. We're getting ready to spend a little bit of time together. Some real talk about relationships, and we are excited. Now, I understand that we're supposed to be playing a little icebreaker.
Yes.
Yeah, but first we should thank Minister George,
yes.
Minister Carol, Minister Johnny Walker, Minister Diane,
Yes.
just for holding it down and the great job that they've done for the last 2 weeks.
They did.
We appreciate them. We trust and know that they were a blessing to you all.
Yes, talking about blended families and just the
Answering
dating
questions.
process and all that stuff, dating while being a parent and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm sure it was good and a blessing to you. Stop giving me that face.
You just want to sing?
I want to sing.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
How many people logged off? How many people right there just logged off? And so we're excited, glad to be back with you all tonight. We love interacting, love answering questions, and just being a part of a little bit of you all's Wednesday night.
Yes, we are excited. So thank you for joining us. Listen, share the link, invite your friends, family members, loved ones, that significant other, invite them to join us. We're going to continue the conversation for quite some time. So we're looking forward to more and more conversations around relationships. We might even dive a little bit into some money. What you think? Talk about some finances?
I think it's all on the table. Whatever they want to talk about, we should want to talk about.
Yeah, so. Yeah, that's true. All right, now so we got an icebreaker. So you said we got to close our eyes?
Yes.
You like these close the eyes games.
What's the deal here? So what are we doing?
So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you're going to answer the question by either pointing to yourself or to the other person. So we played this game with the Houstons and the Walkers. Everybody loved it. So now we're going to let them see who the Gregorys are.
Okay, all right. So it's like the newlywed game, even though we've been married almost 24 years.
Kind of, yes.
So I need you to know we know each other extremely well. So we will put ourselves out there. I think we will get all of these questions right.
Yes.
If we don't, sign us up for counseling. We need to go to counseling.
No, but you better keep score because we want to know.
Yeah.
You didn't keep score for the Walkers and the Houstons.
No, the Houstons won.
And we're both competitive, so
I know.
I actually have to win.
No.
Want to win.
He want to win, but he won't. All right. Let's see who's the most accurate.
So we have to close our eyes.
You're going to close your eyes.
You're going to ask a question.
I'm going to ask a question.
And then we point to the person that...
Or yourself.
Or yourself. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Point to the person that's it's most applicable to, right?
Yes. And it could be yourself. So.
Okay.
All right.
Who said I love you first? Who apologizes first? Who's the emotional one? Who spoils the kids?
Oh, so I shouldn't touch him.
Who's the funniest? Last question. Who's the most romantic?
Oops.
Okay. You actually only got one wrong.
Which one?
Who's the most romantic? You pointed to each other.
That's the right answer. You ain't been married long enough. That's the right answer.
That is the right answer.
So in reality,
that's deep, babe.
In reality, we have our moments where she is just, girl, you doing your thing. You understand? And then there are other times when I'm doing mine. And so just a little tip out there for married couples and even singles that are looking forward to marriage. We don't do it all the time now, but we would do a every other year thing because it's so hard to be creative and come up with stuff every year. So one year she would do all of the Valentine's Day, birthdays, whatever special it was. It would be her year, and she'd do all the surprises. The next year I would do it. And what made that fun in our marriage was whatever
the
anticipation.
And because we're kind of competitive, we would try to outdo one another.
Yeah, so we would try to, once her year ended, I wanted to make my next year better than her previous year, and then vice versa. So that's just a little tip. But doing that helped us know what was romantic to the other person. That's why we still in the game now, 24 years later.
Yeah. So now,
well, you want to redeem yourself from that last question?
No, that was the right answer.
No, you can get another question right.
Okay,
This is like a bonus question.
Bonus.
We gotta close our eyes.
No, you don't have to close your eyes for this one.
Okay.
I am going to play a snippet of a song, and if you both can guess the artist, then we will scratch
She's
that.
more musically inclined.
I think
Yes,
you got
I am.
this though.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Don't dance. Don't dance. You know, Asian people can't dance.
Corinne Hawthorne. Won't he do it? Yes, he will.
See, that song is unscriptural. Won't he do it? No, he already did
Listen,
it. Oh, I'm sorry.
listen,
It's
stop.
not doctrinal.
Yeah,
It's not. But the beat is slamming.
This beat is
That's Corinne Hawthorne?
Yes. We're gonna
Won't he-
have her.
won't he do it?
Won't he do it? Did he do it? Yes, he did, y'all. He done did it. He done did it.
Tell me a little bit about Corinne Hawthorne.
She is going to be our special musical guest on April the 7th, Friday night, Resurrection
April
Weekend.
the 7th, Resurrection is
April the
over.
2nd. April the 2nd. For April 2. The day after April Fool's Day, we're going to have Corinne Hawthorne as our special musical guest. We're going to have another surprise artist. We'll tell you that a little bit later. And we're going to have Garvey.
Now, who is Garvey? 'Cause a lot of
Garvey,
people
you
might
got to
not
be
know.
up on the 116 click.
Oh, he's a part of that group.
Yes,
Okay.
he's a great producer, drops beats, got great songs. Love him.
So was he with Eric B and Rakim?
No,
No,
man,
he wasn't. That's
no.
too far.
I don't even think he was born yet.
Okay, all right. So what are we doing tonight?
Well,
what are we
talking
doing
about
tonight?
Resurrection Weekend.
Okay.
That's when we celebrate and honor
Yeah.
the time when Jesus solidified his covenant with his people.
His life, his death, his
And
burial,
and
and
his
his resurrection.
So in talking about covenant, we have covenant with one another because we're married.
Right.
But there are people out there, especially guys, that got issues, that have issues with covenant, i.e. commitment.
Oh, okay. So commitment issues.
Commitment issues.
Guys.
Yeah, so I want to hear, we were looking at a program
Right.
this past week, and you was like, dude's a runner. He's afraid of commitment. So, because the issue in that program
Right.
was that he was highlighting problems about a potential relationship that may or may not exist, and so
Right.
therefore he was unwilling to commit.
Right.
And you came in the bathroom and telling me, babe, this dude is tripping over stuff that every dude trips about.
Right.
So I want you to just share, especially when you're talking about guys and commitment, what's the deal there?
Yeah, so in the context of what you're describing, a lot of times...
You're so cute.
I'm trying to answer the question.
Okay, answer the question.
So, but I appreciate it.
But you're still cute.
Yeah.
Go answer the question.
So, in the context of that question and what we were watching, commitment sometimes can be a challenge for guys in this way. So, when you're in a committed relationship, you look for things, I guess a better way to say that, it's so easy to look for a reason out than it is to look for a reason to stay in.
That's good.
And so when it's a commitment attached to it, there's always going to be challenges and things that come up that challenge the relationship.
Right.
But when you're committed, then together you believe we can work through this.
Right.
Because every situation is going to have and present something that will need to be worked through.
Yeah,
and it's
you're
the
right.
commitment that allows you to do it. So what a lot of guys do, they're afraid of that process. And so it's just easier to run. It's easier to find why I don't want to put all this work in and go do something different than to figure out why, if I'm committed, it's necessary to put this work in. Because putting that work in is going to help us grow. We're going to work through something that gives us confidence that we can work through it again in the future. And so I think just fundamentally, guys didn't see commitment a lot growing up. And it's just so easy to continue what I've always seen is that when times get tough, that's really the time in a lot of cases for guys to move on to a different situation. The problem is when they don't develop this skill of being committed and working through something, it just shows up in the next relationship.
You're
and
right.
They find themselves in
You're
the
right.
same situation, looking for a reason out instead of a reason to stay in. And it becomes a vicious cycle. Sometimes they end up getting married, and once again, we look for a reason to get out instead of all the reasons to stay in. And commitment will always look for the reason to stay in.
You know, as you're talking, I've talked about this before, but I'm reminded of Genesis because I just believe a lot of our human behavior stems from some core issues. And so when I go back to the book of Genesis, after man fell, the very first thing that God cursed them with, or the curse that came with the fall to Adam, was that he will have to live by the work and the sweat of his brow. Right? And I don't think that was just by way of what he ate or his building a house or anything like that. I just think that men, because he failed to work and lead his relationship, that there is a character trait by the enemy or by that fall that would default a lot of men to not want to put in the work to protect the relationships that they're in. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. I think I do. So work is a blessing.
Right.
Number one, it became a result a curse as a result of the fall.
Right.
But if you go back to what God originally said about Adam after he met him, he said, I'm going to place you in the garden to dress and to keep it. That's work. So obviously work was a blessing. And he had such a tremendous anointing on his life that he could name everything in that garden.
Right.
And as a result of the fall, the curse. So now work is still a blessing. It's just not him speaking to it. Now he has to labor and toil. And for some guys, that's where I'm getting to. Because commitment has work attached to it. Every relationship has work attached to it. Am I really willing to put in the work so that the relationship can be what it needs to be down the road and long term?
Right.
A lot of guys want the result without putting
the
in the work.
Yeah.
And the reality is you can't get sustainability and long term results without commitment and work ethic consistently early on. There's another word, I know it's important to you, like trust.
Right.
So
yes,
that's huge.
Right.
And so when a guy is committed, it creates a level of trust in the person that he's committed to.
Right.
And a female knows, based off of his willingness to work ethic, provide, protect, all of those things, she knows whether or not she can trust him by watching his work ethic.
Right, that's true.
And so if a guy really wants to build a quality, single people really listen to this, especially early on. If you really want to build a quality relationship, what you want to do is build the trust in it through your work ethic. And that's not your job exclusively. That's also communication. That's also doing what you said you were going to do.
That's right.
That's your follow through. That's your... When she shows up, you show up. That's your, when it's good, I'm here. When it's not good, I'm still here. And so I think a big piece to commitment is that word trust. And if they'll commit to the process of putting in the work, it's going to build so much trust in that relationship that trust will provide an environment of peace, an environment of sustainability, and all of that good stuff that comes along with I trust you.
Right. So then, when you have situations where commitment is an issue, what I hear you saying, and I'm taking it a step further, is that if he has commitment issues, then systemically he has trust issues. And not just trust in her, but ultimately trust in his ability to do.
Yeah, that's real good. So most guys are probably out there thinking like, I never saw it before. So where do I get that from? How do you do that?
Right.
So as a 22-year-old young man, I had never trusted anyone, including myself. I never told someone I loved them. None of that kind of stuff. I'd never done that prior to the age of 22. So now where does this come from? I've never seen a marriage that was committed, that had trust in it. I'd never seen any of that my entire life.
Right.
So now at 22, I want to learn how to be a man. And one of the first things was Proverbs was right in my face about a faithful man will abound in blessings. And so that word faithful there is translated as trustworthy.
Ooh.
And so I felt like if I could be faithful to God and prove myself trustworthy with him,
Then there comes the blessings.
there comes the blessing of now being
The empowerment to prosper.
boom, being faithful and trustworthy in my marriage, faithful and trustworthy with my kids, faithful and trustworthy with my career, occupation, job, ministry assignment. So for me, it started with proving that I could be faithful to God and be trustworthy. Could he depend on me? Could
That's
he
good.
rely on me?
Good.
Did I do what I said I was going to do with him? And I practiced in that relationship, and that relationship was the foundation for here. Because I really want to encourage a lot of people out there to be in a long-term relationship. It's going to have ebbs and flows. It's cyclical. It's going to be some ups and some downs. And so if you don't have what I'm describing right now, and if you don't mind, I'm actually going to use a situation that we're in right now.
Okay.
And so for my wife, physically, she is working through something. And you've been working through this since January. So that's kind of impacted a portion of our marriage that I enjoyed on a consistent basis. She's not there. And listen to this. She's not going to be there maybe until the end of the summer. So that would be January through August, where we can't be together in a way that we've been together for 24 years of our marriage. If I'm not committed, if I'm not trustworthy, this is when a lot of people do things because they're selfish and they're only thinking about what I need and what I'm not getting, not understanding that you need to know that I can be trusted in this season.
That's right.
And that I'm going to show up for you in a big way, and that there's nothing going on that lacks any level of commitment to you while you're working through what you need to work through physically.
I appreciate that.
And so if people don't understand that, there are going to be times and seasons in the marriage, in the
Right.
long-term relationship, where you're not going to get what you want or get your way. And it's going to test your faithfulness.
That's
It's
right.
going to test your commitment, and it will test whether or not you can be trusted. But this is the greatest time in our marriage for me to demonstrate to her that I can be trusted, because there's a big portion of it that I can't get, that's important to me, that I can't get out of this marriage right now and won't be able to until August. So this is a great time for me to reinforce.
Not August.
That's the devil.
That's the
Speed
devil.
that timetable
That's
up
the
there.
devil.
When then?
I don't
'Cause
know.
I'm
but
gonna
you
mark it
better
on the
stop.
calendar. I'm gonna put the date on there.
You better not say
I
August.
told her she got to come back with a vengeance.
You
but
better
anyway,
not say August.
July.
Don't put no date on it.
Don't
You
put no
expect-
date on. Just wait to see how you feel.
Yeah.
Come on, girl.
It might be next week.
Oh, tonight.
Tonight. You never
Ooh,
know.
hey, listen. Whenever, just let me know.
Yeah.
I'm showing up. But my point is, I'm in this for the long haul. So when we stood at that altar, let's talk about being trustworthy. Let's talk about being committed. We stood there and we entered into a covenant with each other.
That's right.
And we said, for better
Or for worse.
or for worse.
That's
Which,
right.
which guess what? That means throughout the course of your marriage, there are going to be good times, there are going to be bad times.
Yeah.
That's when you'll see how committed and trustworthy.
That's right. You know, a lot of people consider themselves loyal, and they wear that as a badge. They're loyal. But loyalty without faithfulness, i.e. commitment and trustworthiness, is futile. And so if you can't be committed in this type of a covenant, then your loyalty is very superficial. It's not as deep as some may think.
So loyalty and covenant are synonymous terms.
Right.
So they're just like there are two sides to every covenant. There's two sides to loyalty.
That's right.
So a lot of times, and guys, he's expecting loyalty from her, but what kind of loyalty is he giving to her?
Yep.
And so understand that it's two sides to that loyalty. And the reason for me, I can only speak for myself, it's your loyalty to me that I've witnessed for all of these years that puts me in a position where I have to treat that right.
Right.
And I wholeheartedly believe that God is watching everything that I do because of your loyalty and your commitment. And that if I don't treat that right, I have to deal with God.
And God's going to deal with you.
And so I don't want to deal with him. I'd rather deal with you than to deal with God. But it's your loyalty that creates a high degree of loyalty in me.
That's right.
And I pray vice versa.
Because it's reciprocated, right?
Right.
All right. So that was good. So if you got commitment issues, listen, there's no greater commitment that you can make but that to God. So practice your commitment and your loyalty and your trustworthiness to God. And I promise you, he's pricking your heart right now. Just start with one thing. I don't know, maybe one thing might be smoking. Maybe one thing might be abstinence. Maybe that one thing might be weed. Maybe that one thing might be being obedient, alcohol, pornography, whatever the case may be. Practice that and step up your game. And I promise you, on the character of God, he is going to manifest himself. He said in his word that he'll bless you as a result. So, hey, walk in it.
Yes.
All right, so we got some questions, Nas. What are those questions and how's it looking over there?
Well, it's great that you guys are talking about commitment because a lot of these questions have to do with committing to something.
Okay. All right.
And the singles are in the building.
Hey,
Let's say that. The singles are in the building.
People,
the unmarried
we love
people.
Because
yes.
we were unmarried at once.
Solo. Listen, you got to be single even in your marriage. So practice godly singleness now so that you can be God's best for whoever he or she may be later. Isn't that right? I think I need a kiss on that. I don't want no hand. Give me a kiss.
No, because right now I don't want to get myself excited.
Oh, you hush. You so nasty. You so nasty. You so nasty. All right, so what's the question? I'm sorry, we got derailed.
So you were talking about men. So let's take this question from a man, a single man. So I am a 27-year-old single man. I decided to take a vow of celibacy.
My man.
Do you have any advice for me, especially living in Atlanta with the women here? It's easy and tempting.
Oh,
yeah.
They throwing themselves at. Stay away from them gentlemen's clubs. Step one, stay away.
Yeah, I would say,
but we're proud of you.
yeah, congratulations that you
Yes.
made that decision.
Yes.
That's the first thing I would say because that's very rare. The thing that I've learned about temptation, it's really not as strong if you don't give yourself access to it. And so if you're really committed to that decision, then don't put yourself in a situation where you can violate it. So some practical examples of that. Stay away from the very appearance of evil. Don't go out in the home. Don't bring people in the home. Stay out of places where it's convenient to violate your commitment. That's number one. The other thing is a lot of people don't understand, but don't let your good be evil spoken of.
Yeah.
So always let your good intentions match what you actually do. And so don't put yourself in a situation that doesn't look good, where you stay the night over someone's house or they stay the night over your house. And all of those types of things. The last thing I would say is, scripturally it says to flee fornication. So if you notice, all of these are contextual. They're all in the same context. Flee means to run. And so I knew me. I had made that same vow. I went 8 years and then I slept with her on our wedding night. And for me, it was about running and not putting myself in that situation because I actually knew me. I could be honest enough with myself and say, if I put myself in the situation, I am going to do it. And so that's the last thing I would just say to you, is just run away from it and not towards it.
Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit more nitty gritty with it. Because it's not nasty. Well, I mean, it is what it is. You know your freaky self. So you know what excites the freak in you, okay? Bottom line. So a lot of times in this society, especially in places like Atlanta or Hong Kong or Toronto, women are a dime a dozen, right? And even Christian women, I hate to say it. So even for Christian women, but this is a gentleman that we're speaking to specifically, number one, avoid pornography. You know, a lot of people think that they still need sexual satisfaction, so they'll go to pornography. But I'm telling you, all pornography is going to do is amp up you saying, doggone, it ain't worth it, or whatever the case may be. Number 2, keep yourself out of situations that are tempestuous by compromising your abstinence. What do I mean? Some people they will masturbate with each other. Some people will practice.
As long as we don't penetrate.
As long as we don't do penile penetration. Yeah, they'll do it.
We didn't do it. We didn't
do it, but we did everything else.
We just did oral.
Or
no, it was no penetration.
Right. We cuddled naked.
That's called not fleeing.
That's not fleeing at all. In fact, that's standing around watching. Or entertaining. So you want to stay out of those situations, because those are the very situations that will trip you up. And if you are a Bible reading individual, I would encourage you to go and read Proverbs chapter 5, because Proverbs chapter 5 specifically talks about the type of woman that will take you down that road and what her end is. It says that her end is bitter. It's like, what is it called? Wormwood.
Which is sweet. It tastes sweet in
when
the
it
beginning.
goes in.
It goes in sweet.
It goes in, and so to the tongue it tastes sweet. But once it gets into the digestive system, it becomes poisonous. It makes you sick. Right. So you know, go and look at what Proverbs chapter 5 says.
5 and 6.
5 and 6 actually, and be aware of that type of a woman. And that's it. You don't want that in your life anyway. But I commend you for such a commitment. And I pray that when that time comes and you're married, that you're able to celebrate you and all of your sexual desires during that time.
The best decision I ever made. And it's that decision that in what we're going through together right now that helps me be patient. Because 8 years, 9 months is a very short time. It won't last that long. But 9 months is a very short time in comparison to 8 years. But it was that discipline that makes me very content in this season where she's not able to be who she has been for almost 24 years of marriage.
Right.
But she'll be back.
And listen, it translates. Yes.
Come back strong.
It translates. If you can exercise self-control over your own body, over that part of your body, you can exercise discipline and self-control in just about anything else you do. It translates into your career. It translates into how you talk. It translates to how you treat other people. If you can exercise self-control in this area, you can exercise self-control anywhere else.
But I want you to come back like an animal, though. I want you to come back like an animal.
You so nasty.
Strong.
Lord,
anyway, next question.
Pray for me, y'all.
So this one is coming from Facebook. It says, how do you begin to rebuild trust in a passive marriage?
In a passive marriage. So
I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
maybe like open marriage? That's what it sounds like an open
passive marriage where the other person probably cheated, but the other spouse didn't really respond to it.
Or passive could mean they're not actively working on having a better marriage. They're just kind of letting it be what it's going to be. And so could you ask that question one more time?
It says, how do you begin to rebuild trust in a passive marriage? So I asked her to give context because she's still online. So hopefully she'll...
So I would start off this way, the same way we described for an unmarried person. Start off by building it with God. You'll never have better trust with each other than you do with God. And so as you grow in God, you'll be able to grow with each other. And so I would start there, because typically those relationships, when you start seeing it at that horizontal level, are a result of a lack of vertical trustworthiness and commitment and etc. And so I think if I'm actively pursuing a great relationship with God, it translates to me actively pursuing a great relationship with my spouse.
Yeah, that's true. Passive marriage, that's kind of hard to translate. So if this is a situation, go ahead.
So she said when one person is not being truthful about how they are feeling about a situation. So maybe like passive aggressive or not being honest, speaking up about a certain situation.
Yeah, so again, that's a lack of relationship with God.
Right.
And so as I grow in that, I understand God is a God of truth, right? So I begin to understand that through this relationship. And right, if I'm going to treat other people the way I want to be treated, then it's that relationship that helps me be honest with you so that we can be what we need to be going forward.
Right. So I'm just going to go back to being a Christian, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so to this person, is this a young lady or a young man?
Yes.
It's a young lady?
Young lady. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a woman. So basically, husband has been lying to her, not being honest about how he feels about certain situations, so it's hard for her to understand and interpret really where he is in the relationship. Let me tell you this, number one, there is no special prayer, there is no special fast, there is not a special confession that you can just speak and it all of a sudden changes your husband. You have to be committed to your husband in a way in which is unto God and allow God to change his heart. And the Holy Spirit says that he will lead us into all truth. He says that he will show us things to come. He said that he directs the path, the steps of the righteous person. So he also says that if you acknowledge him, he'll show you the path to take. So I'm just talking about Christian here. And assuming that maybe husband is Christian too and just doesn't have the revelation of honesty and integrity. 1 Peter chapter 3, and I don't mean to Bible thump you, but if you allow yourself to honor and respect him based off of who you believe he can be, then at some time he will develop into that, because now you've sown seed into him and you've demonstrated faithfulness towards God. Well, God is now obligated to move on his heart. Or, I've seen situations where they were moved out of the way, God forbid. But I would encourage you to treat him, honor him, reverence him, and respect him based off of who you desire and believe he can be for you. And after a while, he'll feel guilty, or Holy Spirit will tell you when he's lying. Mm-hmm. Holy Spirit will tell you when he's not being honest. Holy Spirit will even show you what's going on. He'll lead you. You'll start running to him in situations where he was like, well, how could you possibly know? I know someone specifically. She's praying, and just out of clear blue sky, she calls him, and he's in the midst of his mess. And after a while, he started feeling like, and she's like, I just wanted you to know that I love you. And he was like, well, hold up, wait a minute. That and he's in the middle of doing something stupid, in the middle of being disloyal to her. And so, she was a praying woman, and this revolutionized how he dealt with her. Now, it took years. This is not something that happened it was not a 90-day or 40-day something. This took years, and the Holy Spirit arrested him where he couldn't lie to her no more. And he finally had to come clean with everything. When he did, it hurt her, but she was prepared and she was prayerful of her response.
That's so good. Now I would just add to that, on either side, if you stay true to God, God will stay true to you, regardless of what your spouse is doing.
That's right.
And that's the freedom of having a committed whole relationship with God on your own, is you can still be who you are while walking by faith and believing God for them to be who you desire for them to be. But you totally put that in God's hands, and you're trusting God with the results of your spouse, while at the same time still being free in who you are. Now, that doesn't mean you allow them to abuse you, keep lying to you, all of that. But what I'm saying here is when you're true to God, God will be true to you, and he'll reveal to you what you need to know so that you can make decisions.
That's right. That's good.
Okay, now, so what else you got for us over there?
Let's do one more. The other questions were pretty much asking the same thing, and you guys touched on it with commitment. Some people were asking about celibacy, but this could be the last question.
Okay.
Another
It's
single.
7:30 already.
Yeah. Why does it seem like the good girl is always overlooked?
Why does it seem like the good girl is overlooked? Now, good can be defined in so many different ways, but oftentimes the good girl is too spiritual. Oftentimes the good girl is not paying attention to what's going on around her, so therefore she doesn't even notice somebody noticing her. Oftentimes the good girl makes the situation more complicated than it needs to be. And oftentimes the good girl doesn't know how to pick up on the social cues. We're not of the world, but we're still in the world, right? And so oftentimes especially, I'm talking about specifically Christian girls. It would bother me when I hear a young lady tell me a guy asked her out for coffee, and then she's like, oh, let me pray about it. Yeah, you pray about that. It's just, it ain't that deep.
Take as long as you need.
Yeah, take as long. It's not that deep to pray about whether you're going to go and to have coffee with somebody, especially if you're attracted to him or you find him attractive. Oftentimes, the good girl won't pick up or reciprocate social cues. We talk about, I was talking about this to some of the young ladies, the single young ladies that are in my life. If a guy, it's nothing wrong with you saying hi to a guy that, you found attractive. You just saying hi is not you being thirsty. It's just you saying hi, right? Or making eye contact. Back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, if a lady dropped something in front of a gentleman, he knew that was his cue to go ahead and make an advance and to say, hello, how are you doing, my lady? And all this here stuff. So these days, we want this chase to be so elaborate and so exhausting because Hollywood has romanticized this type of a chase. Don't get me wrong. There is supposed to be a chase, but he has to know that he has the right bait. And he doesn't know that if she does not let him know that, okay, I'm approachable by you. You have permission to say hi. Now, if I'm like, whatever, then he knows, keep it stepping. But the reality is, guys, guys have fragile egos. And so they don't want to be rejected. That's nothing new. That didn't just happen in the past 10 years. Guys have never liked being rejected, so they need some type of social cue that says, yes, hi, I'm interested, and that's it. But also, I would say this. Oftentimes, the good girls, i.e. the girls that are committed to the things of God, oftentimes this thing about being celibate or keeping yourself becomes an issue. And I don't want to ignore or downplay that. That's part of your Christian walk. And the reality is, if he can't be committed to you based off of who you are instead of what you got to offer, then you don't want him in your life anyway. And the minute you are forced to compromise your relationship with your God and your commitment and conviction for him, for this other dude, you just made this other dude God. Same thing on the other side with guys. The minute you feel like you're forced to make a decision between your godliness and your convictions and this other person, you just made this other person God. And this other person don't have a heaven or a hell to put you in, nor do they have the ability to bless you all the days of your life. So I would encourage the good girls or the good guys that are out there, keep your convictions, keep your relationship with God, keep your spirituality, but also don't be so spiritually minded that you're no earthly good.
Yeah, and just to close that, could you read that question one more time, Nas?
Yes, it just says, why does it seem the good girl is always overlooked?
Yeah, so I would challenge you to not see yourself as the good girl who's getting overlooked. As a person thinks so in their heart, so are they. Mm-hmm. And so I would say change the way you think. It's going to be very difficult to get positive results if you think you're a good girl that's always getting passed up. And so why not say something different about yourself, that you are the good girl that is soon to be found.
Yes.
And get up and speak that over yourself every single day. And I think that changes now how you approach your day and how you see opportunities and situations, because you woke up that day saying about yourself that you are the good girl that's soon to be found. That's the only thing I would encourage you to change, is to not see yourself as a victim or a good girl that's not being found. Just see yourself as a good girl who is soon to be found. And I think that confession will bring to you exactly what you're believing for. Remember, fear will always run away from you what you don't want, or bring to you what you don't want. Faith will bring to you exactly what it is that you want. So if you're saying every day, I'm a good girl, soon to be found, it won't be long before that good guy found you. And that's the only thing I would encourage you to do.
Yeah.
Speak well of yourself every single day. What's happening to other people does not have to be your story. So you stay true to who you are, what you're believing for, and say it every single day until you see it.
Right, that's true. And then just one practical, I don't know who this person is, but a lot of times ladies tend to have bursts of glory, but you want to treat yourself and represent yourself as a constant, glorious person. What do I mean by that? Sometimes we want to dress up and look nice. Other times we want to look like a bum and look like we frumpy or whatever the case may be. Listen, if you're out there and you want to be found, represent yourself as someone who's proud and worthy and elegant in all of your ways. So however your best self is and how you present yourself, be consistent in that area. If and be the best self as much as you can as your natural self. I'm not downplaying anybody who has a weave or eyelashes or Brazilian butt lifts or whatever the case, but don't present yourself with your body first. Because a lot of good girls might do that, and then we want lead with your spirit, but also represent yourself as your best self on a consistent level. So what do I mean? Dress nicely, or dress how you dress in a nice way consistently. If you wear makeup, keep wearing your makeup. Keep your hair done. Things like that.
Yep, and get up tomorrow and say, I'm a good girl, and today might be the day I get found.
Yes, because anything that's great and of great value, honey, they don't come a dime a dozen. He got to look for her.
Pearls of great price.
Yes.
All right, well, we love you all. Thanks for joining us
do.
tonight. You took time out of your Wednesday night to spend about 40 minutes, 35 minutes with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We just pray that the Lord bless you, that He keeps you and He makes His face to shine upon you, and that the rest of your week will just be prosperous and be the type of week that you believe it's supposed to be.
But now mark your calendar. April the 2nd, we're having a great concert. Yes.
And we will practice social distancing and make
mask
the environment
on.
safe for all that attend. All of our spaces will be open. Outdoor screens. So
yes, we'll have outdoor screens for the concert. If you want to tailgate and bring your dinner and you want to tailgate and watch it from your car outside, you're welcome to do that.
What's happening on Saturday?
Saturday,
a lot of fun for the
families. Bring your kids out because it's going to be a blast. They got some chemist magic show. It's colorful. It's crazy.
Games, all kinds of stuff. A lot of fun.
Are they going to get slimed? I think they're going to get slimed. Is they going to be slimed?
We'll tell you all this weekend. So we'll have some graphics and slides.
And then Sunday, Resurrection Sunday. It'll be Sunday. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a grand time. We have a special production. It's going to be a good time. So listen, mark your calendar for that. If you've never been in Linked Up Church, we invite you to come on out. But if you can't make it, be sure to log in on that day. But better yet, just start this Sunday. We'll see you at 8:20. We do a pre-service prayer at 8:20. 8:30 we start service and a rebroadcast at 11 o'clock. Oh, on Sunday, on Resurrection Sunday, though, we will have 2 services, live. 8:30 and 11. Both of them will be live, so be in the house. We removed the excuses. All right. We love you.
Love you all. Thanks for joining us again.